March 17, 45 BC. Somewhere in Andalusia, southern Spain, Caesar faces his final battle. At 54, Julius Caesar has come to end a rebellion Rome believed almost finished. He wants the Pompeians off that ridge, fighting where his veterans and cavalry can move. A shallow stream and soft ground break the approach. Beyond them, every step rises. Caesar may have 30 to 40,000 men. The Pompeians may have 45 to 60,000.
They are not coming down.
To finish this war, Caesar must cross the low ground and attack uphill. Munda began in southern Hispania, the Roman name for the Iberian Peninsula, now mostly Spain and Portugal. 4 years earlier, Caesar defeated Pompey's forces in the northeast and pardoned thousands of their soldiers. In the south, Caesar's governor imposed harsh levies and punishments, turning old wounds into new anger. The provincial legions mutinied. Men trained by Rome now turned their weapons against Caesar's administration. Towns changed sides, offering walls, grain, and recruits. The rebellion no longer needed an invading army. Many had changed allegiance before. Fear of Caesar's next judgment made surrender more dangerous than resistance.
Gnaeus Pompeius the Younger, Pompey the Great's eldest son, gave the rebellion a name. Beside him stood Titus Labienus, Caesar's former senior lieutenant, who had spent years commanding Caesar's soldiers. Exiles, mutinous legionaries, local recruits, and fortified towns now formed something far larger than a remnant. Late in 46 BC, Caesar was in Italy when his commanders admitted they could not contain the revolt. He reached Hispania within a month. Speed could not open gates, cross rivers, or feed troops through winter.
The route is uncertain. What matters is that Caesar reached southern Spain before the crisis could harden further. Distance was solved. Gnaeus was tightening a siege around a loyal town Caesar could not afford to lose. Ulia stood near modern Montemayor in southern Spain, its gates surrounded and its roads cut. If Ulia fell, every nearby city would learn that Caesar could no longer protect his allies. Caesar sent an officer named Passiacus with a few thousand infantry and a cavalry force. Their cover was a violent storm after dark, dangerous enough to hide the entire column. Rain erased faces, distances, and the difference between friend and enemy.
Stay close! Keep moving! Stay close! Keep moving!
The column passed the outposts before the sentries could identify what moved through the rain. Before dawn, Passiacus was inside Ulia. The siege had failed to seal the town. Sextus Pompeius, Gnaeus's younger brother, held Corduba, the modern city of Cordoba in southern Spain. Caesar moved against Corduba, forcing its defenders to prepare for an attack across the river. The threat was deliberate. Caesar wanted Gnaeus to leave Ulia and protect the city behind him. It worked. Gnaeus loosened the siege of Ulia and moved toward Corduba. Caesar's force was probably smaller, but its veteran infantry could restore order under pressure. The Pompeian army was larger, but uneven. Experienced Romans stood beside recruits and troops who had rebelled before. The shielded infantry on foot would decide the battle by holding or breaking the line. Caesar's cavalry gave him speed to scout roads, threaten exposed sides, and force slower infantry to react. Light troops handled broken ground. Ahead, another fortress on high ground was repeating Munda's problem. That fortress was Atagua, near modern Santa Cruz in southern Spain.
Its walls protected food and shelter, exactly what both armies needed in winter. Caesar could leave Attigua supplied behind him, or attack uphill and break Gnaeus' hold over his allied cities. By dawn, Caesar had begun closing Attigua inside a ring of earthworks and armed men. The soldiers fought with tools first, cutting trenches and lifting protective banks toward the walls. Every basket moved the siege forward. Every hour consumed food Caesar could not easily replace. Cold rain softened the ground. A fresh bank collapsed, forcing exhausted men to build the same section again. Caesar answered delay by sealing the roads. Attigua's stores were becoming supplies no relief force could reach. Then, morning fog erased the distance between Caesar's outer posts and Gnaeus' approaching troops. Pompeian infantry emerged on both sides, while movement behind the riders closed their escape. The cavalry had speed, but no room. Horses collided, riders fell, and the formation broke apart. The outpost was shattered. Gnaeus had proved the siege had not taken away his power to strike. Fog lifted over an unbroken siege ring. Gnaeus had struck hard and gained no road into Attigua. Gnaeus could threaten the ring, but every direct approach now met earthworks and prepared infantry. The fortress still had walls. What it no longer had was a believable path to relief. On February 19th, Attigua surrendered. Caesar had taken the fortress without allowing Gnaeus to save it. The meaning traveled farther than the news. Gnaeus had failed to protect one of his strongest positions. After Attigua, Caesar kept moving. The campaign became a contest for roads, hilltops, and towns. Near Sorricaria, in southern Spain, Caesar's troops seized a hill and forced the Pompeians onto lower ground. Holding the crest forced the Pompeians downhill. One lost height now threatened every road behind them. Then another town stopped resisting. With it, Gnaeus lost shelter, supplies, and control of another road. Behind the retreating army, smoke marked another lost settlement. Ahead, only stronger ground could stop Caesar. At Munda, Gnaeus stopped retreating. He chose the high ground Caesar had already recognized as dangerous.
We hold here. Let Caesar climb.
The position changed the balance. A fortified town behind them, a slope and wet ground in front. Caesar read the price at a glance. Shallow water, soft ground, then tens of thousands waiting above.
Then we go up.
Caesar's command began with one eagle standard tilting uphill above the waiting ranks. The signal passed from leader to leader, each section moving only when the order reached it. Then the low ground began to empty. Caesar's entire front moved. Gnaeus' line remained still above. The first obstacle was not a weapon. It was the shallow water cutting across the advance. Water slowed some men, stones accelerated others, and the spaces between shields began to open. The rear ranks kept moving. Their weight pressed into men whose feet were still trapped below. Beyond the water, the centurions separated crowded men, then closed their shields into a usable line. Light troops moved ahead and outward, buying the heavy infantry seconds to rebuild its formation. The first blows crossed the remaining distance by sling before either shield wall touched. Pompeian javelins struck shields and soil, forcing Caesar's men to protect themselves while still climbing. Once clear of the mud, each man had to recover his breath, shield position, and place in line. The formation moved again in a shallow stair-step, with some sections already several paces higher. There was no room to wait. The eagle standard leaned uphill, and the front resumed its advance. The slope consumed strength before combat. Every shield, weapon, and armored body pulled backward. At close range, Caesar's front threw heavy javelins, then advanced into the space behind them. The Pompeian shields caught the volley. Their rear ranks braced on higher ground and refused to yield. Now the distance vanished. Roman soldiers faced Roman soldiers, carrying the same weapons beneath different standards. The first shield impact stopped the climb. Momentum became a contest of shoulders, feet, and breath. From above, Pompeian rear ranks pushed downhill, adding gravity to every shield in the front. Caesar's rear ranks answered, but slipping feet prevented their full weight from reaching the enemy. One twisted shield opened a seam. The centurion forced it square before Pompeian pressure could enter. The first collision changed nothing visible. Two enormous lines remained locked on almost the same ground. The attack had reached the ridge and lost its momentum before breaking the line. Gnaeus' decision was working. Every minute Caesar remained below made the high ground more valuable. Labienus kept part of his line behind the fighting. Those fresh troops mattered only while free to move.
Close the gaps! Push together!
The front gave half a step, recovered its footing, then pressed uphill again as one line. Exhausted men were pulled back through gaps. The next rank replaced them before the enemy exploited the opening. The sun climbed. Wet armor dried beneath dust, while the fighting line remained almost where it began. Even veterans were reaching their limit. Hands trembled, breaths shortened, and shields returned more slowly. Across the ridge, neither army had achieved a decisive break. The battle had become endurance.
Caesar moved closer to the fighting, staying within his line. Men focused again. The front remained fixed. All three commanders understood. The first section unable to recover would decide the battle. On Caesar's right, the veteran 10th Legion, Legio 10, closed its gaps and began moving as one body. The 10th advanced in short steps. Rank after rank drove its weight into the same narrow section. The Pompeian front compressed against itself. Men behind could no longer reach the exhausted fighters cleanly. An eagle standard shifted uphill and sideways. To Labienus, that movement revealed where the line was being squeezed.
Reinforce that section! Move!
The waiting block moved toward the pressure. It steadied one section by emptying space somewhere else. The earliest account records no single trick. Legio 10 pressed, Pompeians shifted troops, and cavalry widened the imbalance. King Bogud led allies from Mauritania, a North African kingdom across the strait from southern Spain. Pompeian troops near the edge turned outward. The infantry front now had to watch two directions. The cavalry kept moving along the edge, denying the Pompeians space to transfer fresh troops. One signal pulled men toward the infantry fight. Another turned them toward the cavalry. Response slowed. The Pompeian front was no longer one continuous system. Some sections stood firm, while gaps widened between them.
One Pompeian section stepped back to avoid isolation. The withdrawal remained orderly for the moment. The neighboring section saw open ground beside it and also withdrew. A local correction became a chain reaction. Separate withdrawals merged into one backward flow. Orders could no longer rebuild the line before fear accelerated it. Caesar held the battlefield, but Munda closed its gate. Gnaeus escaped, and Sextus Pompeius still lived. The ridge was Caesar's. The silence revealed what victory had hidden
while men were still moving. Victory left men barely standing. Those still able to walk carried those who could not. The field held Romans from both armies, wounded beneath shields differing only in paint and wear. Caesar's army remained standing, but every empty interval marked a man no longer in the line. Caesar had survived. On his face, exhaustion arrived before triumph. Yet the town had not surrendered. Its gate remained closed above the battlefield Caesar had just won. The soldiers returned to tools. Winning the field had only begun another siege. Munda resisted after its army broke, separating victory in battle from control of the town. Labienus and the veteran commander Attius Varus were killed during the collapse.
Aeneas escaped wounded, moving toward the coast, while Caesarian riders searched behind him. The pursuit caught him soon afterward. Aeneas was killed before he could raise another field army. Caesar continued toward Corduba. Aeneas was dead, but his younger brother Sextus was still there. Sextus survived the collapse. As Caesar closed in, the younger Pompeian disappeared beyond his reach. He later built power at sea. Munda had destroyed an army. The Pompeian cause survived. When the remaining campaign ended, Caesar returned to Rome in triumph. Yet this triumph honored victory over fellow Romans. Celebration could not make the civil war foreign. The high ground from the opening belonged to Caesar. Beneath that victory, the Republic remained fractured. Munda was Caesar's final major battle. It destroyed the last Pompeian field army, but not Rome's civil